Hi, my name is Sarah Duarte, and I am a teacher candidate at Grand Canyon University, and this is SPED 470. Throughout the last 8 weeks, I have created and implemented several lessons, some of them successful, some of them not so much. So for the purpose of this assignment, I will be evaluating and reflecting on one of the lessons that I created on simplifying algebraic expressions with the use of splat math. I started this lesson by showing my students a 4-square box, and in each box contained a different algebraic expression. I then asked my students to use their critical thinking skills to evaluate which equation doesn't belong. Now, I love this question because there are a variety of responses, and it encourages the students to engage their critical thinking skills. However, the students were very hesitant to raise their hand and provide an answer. So I had to give a couple of examples to get the ball rolling, and then a few of my stronger students would raise their hand and give a response. Now looking back and reflecting, I wish I would have given my students an opportunity to do a think, pair, share with their elbow partner. I feel like this would have given them an opportunity to collaborate with a peer and come up with their own answers, which maybe would have given them more confidence to raise their hand and participate in a whole class discussion. So that's something that I would definitely implement for next time. Once we got through the which one doesn't belong activity, I then opened up the smartboard and gave a PowerPoint presentation to the class. In this PowerPoint presentation, I started with explicitly teaching the vocabulary that we were going to need to know for this lesson. I did this by providing the term along with the definition that the students were going to need to know, and gave examples and visuals to help students build a connection between the vocabulary terms. Reflecting back, I would have gone a little deeper into teaching the vocabulary terms and maybe creating an activity to go along with it, just because it is so essential that the students understand the terminology before really diving into the equations. So perhaps next time I would do something maybe where the students use their math journals and they can record each vocabulary term with the definition and either draw a visual, provide an example, or write a sentence for each term. So that's something that I can do next time. Next, we went slide by slide, and I provided different examples of equations and how we can use splat math to solve each equation. I had a lot of visuals for my students, and we broke it down step by step. I asked a lot of reflective questions, not necessarily looking for a right or wrong answer, but just trying to get the students to evaluate the equation from different perspectives. We took our time. The slides and the information that I was providing was simple. It wasn't too detailed because I really wanted the students to focus on really just understanding the content and not overwhelming them with too much language. So this is something that I think worked out really well. My students seemed to get the hang of it. They were participating to my reflective questions and providing their own examples. So this is something that I thought went really well. Reflecting back, I would have like to provide some manipulative for my students who needed additional support. It's one thing to look at the smartboard and see an image on the screen, as opposed to having counters and splats right there in front of you and being able to create their own equations, physically covering up the counters with the splat math. I just think that would have helped some of my students gain a deeper, better understanding of the content that I was teaching. So maybe that's something I can either incorporate during the PowerPoint presentation and they can follow along with me, or create it as its own separate activity at the end of the PowerPoint presentation. So something to think about for next time. I completed my lesson by asking the students to do a fist to 5. I did this in order for me to determine which students needed additional support. I was able to identify about 5 students and pulled them into a small group for more individualized instruction and provided them with additional examples with visuals and manipulatives. And I sent the rest of the class off to do group activity where they're solving and creating their own equations using SplatMath. Overall, the lesson was good, but by implementing some of the changes, I think it could have been great. I think it's important to remember as teachers that we're always evolving and learning from one another and learning from the successes and failures that we have in our own lessons. So it's very, very important for us to reflect back on all the lessons and activities that we've done and adapt and make changes so that we can best meet the needs of all of our learners. Thank you very much.